Great. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this 22nd webinar of our INCOSE India chapter webinar series. We actually started this webinar series when we all were hit with pandemic, and we had a lot of good turnout for the webinar series, especially in the year 2020. So yes, this is actually our first webinar for this year, and the topic for today is INCOSE SEP knowledge exam, and how to prepare and what to expect. And so before we jump into the webinar, I would like to take just 5 minutes to talk about INCOSE at large and INCOSE chapter at large. And sorry, just to introduce myself, my name is Mudit Mittal. I am the current president of India chapter. And INCOSE, if you look at INCOSE, it's an international organization. It started about 32 years back as National Council of System Engineering, and then soon they realized that the INCOSE is spreading, is required across the world. So it became International Council of System Engineering. And at present, there are about 19,000 plus members with 65 plus chapters across the world. So India chapter being one of them. And then we have about 50 working groups, which are international working groups. And around close to 4,000 people are overall certified system engineers. And if you talk about our chapter, we were chartered as INCOSE South chapter in 2010. So it's been about 12 years, 12 years. And we have 60 individual members and about 180 CAP associate members. And as for the topic today, we have total of 61. The number might be 1 or 2 here and there. So this is about 1 week old data. That number of SEP. So we have 3 ESEPs, 16 ASEPs, and 44 CSEPs. And along with that, we have 3 technical working groups. We have the architecture working group, MBSE working group, and PHA working group. And it also gives me immense pleasure to talk about the awards. So since last 4 or 5 years, we've been receiving consistently awards, Circle Awards. So we started our journey on the awards through Silver Circle Award and then Gold Circle Awards. And we've also got special President Award and Most Improved Performance in 1 Year Award as well. So without taking more time, I would like to announce the MBSE Summit 2022. And so this summit is going to be on 4th and 5th May, and this is the 2nd edition. So last year, when we started this, this was jointly hosted by INCOSE India and KESI Design Division. This year, we actually have 3 committees coming together, and the event is going to be much, much grander than last time. So what we are planning is we are going to have sort of 2 sessions. The morning slot or morning till afternoon slot, which is the 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is going to include special events. So we are going to have SysML V2 workshop. We are planning career fair, mentoring sessions for career, as well as SEP mentoring session. And then students and academia focus is going to be our highlight throughout actually the event. And then the regular talks. So we'll have special invited talks, and we are planning panel discussions, couple of panel discussions, which are going to be 4:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And on top of that, we are also planning the mock test. So Aparna will actually talk more about it. And just to give you an idea about the registration fee, we have kept it pretty low. So it's about 700 rupees for non-members and 500 for members of INCOSE, IEEE or AESI, and just 200 rupees for the academia. And we're really looking forward for all of you to join us and spread awareness about the same. So before I move forward on the topic, I would like to have a quick poll, and then I'll hand over to Aparna for the webinar today. Okay. So let me just stop sharing, and I'll hit the poll. Okay, so I have just launched the poll, and we'll take about 30 seconds or so for this. So the question is mainly which of the following events you'll be interested in attending.
Can't wait to see the result real time.
Sorry?
So I can't wait to see the result real time. The poll results?
Yeah.
Can't wait to see the poll results real time.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, no problem. I don't know if it shows real time, but I'll just end the poll maybe in few seconds and you'll get to see it.
Okay.
Yeah, we got 75%.
Okay, great. So I'll just end the poll and we'll get started. Okay. Share results. I guess you all are able to see the results now. Okay. Okay, so thank you. Thanks for giving your inputs for the poll. And now maybe I just hand over to Aparna. So I welcome Aparna for the webinar. She's our technical officer of INCOSE India chapter, and she's system engineer at Boeing. And maybe I'll hand it over to you, Aparna, and you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Mudit. And are you able to see my screen? Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay, great. So welcome everyone to the webinar once again. And I'm Aparna. I'm the technical officer at the INCOSE India chapter. I've been with INCOSE volunteering for the past year or so, and I have recently received my CSEP certification. So yeah, I'm excited to be presenting this to you. It is about a topic which is close to my heart. So we will be discussing about the SEP knowledge exam and about how to prepare and what to expect from that, and the application process and so on. So what we will be covering today is basically an overview of the certification program, the application process, and about the knowledge exam itself and how to prepare and certain tips on that and so on. So before we get started, Mudit, I think we have a poll. We can start that.
Sure.
Idea of who all are aiming for certification and what type of certification and so on.
Okay, it's live. Okay, maybe we'll just give 5-10 more seconds. Okay, so I'll stop the poll. Okay, so here are the results. So we have quite a good number who want to apply for the SEP exam. And now, back to you.
That's great. So I hope this session is going to be useful for everyone. And definitely, if you have any questions, you can use the chat box to put in your questions, and we'll try to answer as many as we can towards the end of the presentation. And so let's get started then. So let's first start with the certification program overview. So one thing that is on most of our minds is why do we need the SEP certification program, and what are the benefits for you as an individual or as part of an organization? How does it help? And so we will be going over that, and also the different types of certification options that are available. So now, what is the INCOSE SEP certification? So let's have a look at that. And yeah, so the INCOSE SEP.
Aparna, regarding the slides, which slides you are saying, could you please check once, because we are able to see that INCOSE SEP knowledge, first slide only, about your introduction of the session. It has struck there only, at least for me. Udit, for you?
Yes, same here. So maybe if you want, you can just reshare quickly.
I'll try to reshare.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Achin.
Okay.
Yeah. Visible.
Yeah, it's working.
Great. So, thank you. And yeah, so now the SEP basically stands for Systems Engineering Professional. The certification program is a formal process that recognizes any individual who has demonstrated a measurable level of education and knowledge about systems engineering and proficiency. That's experience in performing tasks which are related to systems engineering profession. Regarding why is it really important? So for organizations, what the importance of the certification, how it would help is basically formally recognizes the systems engineering capabilities of the professionals who are working in the organization. And that's specific for an organization who has systems engineers and does systems engineering. So, and it can also be part of the hiring process and promotion process. This is something that some of the companies do, that they provide, benefits or to people who have the SEP certification, especially during hiring. So this also provides an independent external assessment of the engineers at the company. And the assessment is through with the help of experienced and expert systems engineers as part of INCOSE. And of course, this also helps encourage employees to continue their education and continue improving their skills throughout their career. And for individuals in specific, for you all, it would help you to formally recognize that your systems engineering capabilities. It provides you kind of competitive advantage in your career. So being certified versus not certified in your systems engineering career, it definitely gives a boost. And it provides a systems engineering designation. So that is something that is recognized across industry domains. It's not specific to a particular industry. So it could be aerospace or healthcare, transportation, automotive, any industry for that matter, including things like business development. So, and for your team itself, if you're working in a systems engineering team, it allows the team to have a kind of common engineering, systems engineering language that everybody understands. So it's easy to discuss and work in that way. So this is the importance of the SEP certification. Now let's look at what are the different levels of SEP certification that are available through INCOSE. So there are basically 3 levels of certification. One is
Aparna, sorry to interrupt. I think the screen is still stuck. So if you want, I can share the screen and you can just let me know.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay. So you want to go on to slide 9, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'll do that. Okay.
Yes. So yes, you can go to the next slide.
Okay.
These are the 3 levels of certification that we have at INCOSE. The entry level level is the Asep, that is the Associate Systems Engineering Professional. The foundational level is the CSEP, which is Certified Systems Engineering Professional, which is basically after a few years of experience in systems engineering. And finally, we have the ESEP, that is Expert Systems Engineering Professional. And that is at a much senior leadership level where you have more than 20 years of experience. And the certification that that INCOSE provides is consistent with the ISO guidelines. So basically, it has it considers not just knowledge through an exam, but also your experience, systems engineering experience over the years, your education in engineering fields, and your leadership and accomplishments over the years as a systems engineer. So next, so basically you can enter at any level, and you can seamlessly transition to any level based on whenever you're ready and based on which level is appropriate for you. Next slide. So again, looking at, so how do we choose which certification option is appropriate for us? So firstly, yeah, if you're at the level of, say, if you're a student or you just graduated and you're getting into systems engineering for the first time, you want to grow your knowledge, you want to start a career in systems engineering, then that's where we have the ASEP certification. And that's basically just testing a theoretical knowledge about systems engineering. The next level is the Csep, and that is when you have at least 5 years of systems engineering experience, applied systems engineering knowledge, and also you are able to demonstrate that you have the knowledge of systems engineering. And finally, at the Esep level is when you would apply when you have more than 20 years of experience with systems engineering. You're a mentor, you're a leader in systems engineering, and you have several accomplishments to show. So based on that is where you decide which level would be appropriate for you. Next slide. So this is now let's go into the application process of the certification. So we'll briefly look at the overview of the application process, and then go into specifically how do we apply for ASEP, CSEP, ESEP, and so on. And where do we get the application forms, what all do they include, and finally the certification cost. So this is the certification process. Firstly, you would become a member, you would join INCOSE, become a member, and choose your certification level, which could be ASEP, CSEP, or ESEP, based on your years of experience and what we looked at earlier. And you would complete the forms and fill the application, pay the fee, take the exam if required. So for ESEP, we don't need to give an exam. There is an oral interview where you demonstrate your technical expertise over the years. And for ASEP and CSEP, we have the exam, knowledge exam. It is the same knowledge exam for both. So you pass the exam. So there is no specific, I mean, it's not necessary that you have to fill the application first and then take the exam. You can take the exam first as well and then fill the application. That's fine as well. But overall, the process should be done within a year's time. That's the maximum time that once you start the application, that's the time that you have to complete. And so you can also upgrade. Suppose you are an ASEP, you want to upgrade to a CSEP, you have that option also. So there are forms for that. And then the other thing that is important to note is maintaining the certification. So once you're certified, you will not always remain certified. You will have to show that you are continuing to work on systems engineering and maintaining the INCOSE membership. So for that, you would be completing the professional development requirements. They are detailed in the INCOSE website about when you look at the certification. And so you will collect these PDO points over the years, and then you would renew your certification. So for ASEP, the renewal period is every 5 years, and for CSEP, it is every 3 years. So once you have 5 years of experience, you can definitely move to CSEP also from ASEP. For ESEP, there is no renewal required. So once you are an ESEP certified, you don't need to, you will always remain certified as an ESEP. So, next slide. So let's look at a little more detail about the ASEP process, application process. So ASEP is very simple. It's a very simple process. So yes, you study the handbook, you give the exam, But the application form is very simple. It doesn't ask for much. It just asks for your name and your INCOSE ID. That's to show your membership. And that's it. And it would take about 2 to 4 weeks for the process once you submit your application, and you will be certified. So after 5 years, you need to renew, or you can upgrade to a CSEP. And one thing important for any of the levels, if you want to remain certified, you need to remain an individual INCOSE member. So individual membership is basically the paid membership. So even if your organization is a part of the corporate advisory board and you have a CAB associate membership, that would not be sufficient for the certification program. You have to have the paid membership. Next slide. So this is the CSEP application process. Here we have to again write the knowledge exam. So that's that has to be passed the knowledge exam, and also the application process is a little more detailed. You have to show your experience for the past 5 years. That's the minimum of 5 years of experience, systems engineering experience in certain functional areas. I will look at that in the next slide. And also you need to show your education credentials. So you should have an engineering degree, not necessarily systems engineering. So most of the engineering degrees are covered in that as well. And once you submit the application form, you have to also submit 3 references. And those references should be able to show that you have the systems engineering experience of that 5 years. So those 3 references minimum, so they should be able to show that 5 years of experience. And it takes about 4 to 6 weeks for the application to be processed. And then finally you get your CSEP certification. Again, you have about 1 year's time to complete the whole process. Next slide. So this is the functional areas that I mentioned that you need, that are recognized for the CSEP experience. So there are totally 14 functional areas. You have technical areas like requirements engineering, system decision analysis, architecture design development, systems integration, verification, and validation. Then you have the systems engineering management areas like technical planning, technical monitoring, control, risk and opportunity management, and so on. And then you have support areas like some specialty engineering areas, acquisition, supply, organization, project enabling activities, and any other activities that you have performed which you can justify are part of the systems engineering activities. So these functional areas are basically similar to what we see in the systems engineering handbook by INCOSE. It directly maps to those. So what you need to show is 5 years, that's 60 months of experience in any of these functional areas. So the minimum requirement is that you have to show at least 12 months of experience in at least 3 of these functional areas. Next slide. So the ESEP, I think not many people here would be applying for ESEP right now, but just to go over it, so here we don't have to give the knowledge exam. It is based on your education, your experience, and it requires an experience of at least 20 years in systems engineering. You would be an expert in some areas of systems engineering and also have worked on many other areas as well from part of those 14 functional areas that we saw. And you should also be able to verify your professional development. So you fill in the application form, and the evaluation period takes about 4 to 6 weeks again. And then you have the oral interview where the review is done for not just the applicant, but also the references, 2 of the references over a telephone conference. And finally, you get the ESEP certification. Next slide. So how do you prepare the application? Basically, for ASEP, the only thing you require is your personal details. That's your name and your INCOSE ID. And for CSEP and ESEP, you also need to fill in your educational qualifications. You need to provide transcripts. You show your work profile in detail and your detailed systems engineering experience. For CSEP and ESEP, you also, for professional references, you have to provide testimonials from your supervisors or peers over the years, which show your systems engineering experience. So one thing that we should remember in this process is basically, so it's not necessary that you have to have had the designation of systems engineering. You may not be a systems engineer by designation, but you would be performing one of the activities that is mentioned, which relate to systems engineering. Also, the people who are referring you for the certification, they should be at least aware of what systems engineering is and be able to talk about their experiences in relation to systems engineering as well as yours. So the next slide. Yeah, here, this is the application form. This is what you find in the INCOSE website. The link is mentioned here. So there are forms for the ASEP, CSEP, and ESEP. So what's also included is the reference forms that the reference that have to be filled out by the people who are referring. And also instructions on completing the form, and there are example forms also mentioned. So that makes it a lot easier to fill out the application form, even though it's quite detailed for the CSEP and ESEP applications. Next slide. So this is the cost of certification. So there are three costs basically that are involved. One is especially for the ASEP and CSEP. So if you're directly applying for an ASEP or CSEP, can I request everyone to go on mute? Thank you. So yes, so for ASEP and CSEP, you need to give the knowledge exam. So there is an exam fee, and then there is an application fee for each level, whichever level you're applying for. And then there is the membership fee, because you have to be a paid individual member. So the exam fee, basically, there are two types of exams. We'll cover that. There's a computer exam and a paper-based exam. So computer-based exam is online, and that is $80. And the paper-based exam, the fee kind of varies, but mostly it's around $30. And so every time you need to renew, for ASEP, that's every 5 years. There is a renewal fee. So then there is no other fee. It's only the renewal fee that you have to pay. And transitioning from ASEP to CSEP, there is a fee. For renewing CSEP, also, again, there is a fee. So next slide. So all these details are mentioned in the INCOSE website. You can go over that. The link is given. So then now let's jump into the knowledge exam. So for the ASEP and CSEP, we have the knowledge exam that has to be taken. So there is, we'll go into what is the format of the exam, how you can take it, and if you have to take it online, how do you take it, and how do you take the paper-based exams? What is the format of the questions? We look at that, and some preparation tips. That's from my side. Next slide. Excuse me. So this is the about the knowledge exam. So there are two options, as I mentioned. One is the online exam and one is paper-based exam. So earlier, the online exam was taken at a Prometric center. You had to go to a Prometric center, which and schedule your exam there and give the exam there. But since the pandemic, they have changed the, they have provided a new option. You can take the online exam from home using your home computer or laptop, or from anywhere for that matter, as long as you have your computer and a network. And what you need is, all you need is a video camera. So you'll have a virtual proctor who would be watching you through the entire, making sure you're not, noting down the question somewhere or reading from the handbook or something. But yeah, so that's it. And so that makes it a lot simpler, and it's accessible to everyone this way. So basically the knowledge exam is on the basis is the Systems Engineering Handbook from INCOSE, whichever is the latest version. So right now the latest version is the version 4 from 2015. And yeah, so the online exam has 120 multiple choice questions, which have to be answered in 120 minutes. Out of these 120 questions, 20 questions are actually unscored. They are like test questions from INCOSE to just see whether, if they're trying to introduce some new questions, whether they would be good to introduce those kind of questions during the exam or not. So basically they look at whether based on the answers that the exam attendees are answering, they will see whether it is too tough or too easy, whether everybody is able to answer it or nobody is able to answer it, and or whether it's like difficult to understand. So those things are what they will see in those 20 questions, but you would not know which are those 20 questions. So you do need to answer all the questions that are there. And at the end of the exam, as soon as you submit, as soon as you click the submit button, you would get your result. It will be displayed. It's a pass or fail. And so there is no pass score which is there. So we don't know what the pass score is. And that can actually vary. It depends on the exam itself and depends on the person who's set the exam. But yes, you would just get to know whether you've passed or failed. And it can be taken as per your convenience at any time. The paper-based exam, on the other hand, mostly you don't have those unscored questions. So there will be 100 multiple choice questions to be answered in 100 minutes. And the exam results, obviously you cannot get it immediately, so you get it in about 2 weeks. And the paper-based exams are basically notified through the INCOSE website in the link mentioned, or they can be hosted by a local chapter if they are able to provide a proctor. So India chapter actually can host paper-based exams at some event or in a particular location. And yeah, so if there is a large enough group of people who want to take the paper exams, we can try to arrange that if possible. So that can be worked on. Next slide. So basically, as I mentioned, the INCOSE Systems Engineering version 4 handbook is what is required for the exam. So this is the exam format. So what you see on the left side, that is the portal for scheduling the online exam. So if you can see, I know it's a little small, but if you can see, you can basically schedule it for any day at any time. The timing, I mean, you can choose whichever time suits you. So it's a very simple tool to schedule the exam. They will schedule a proctor and you can give the exam. So cancellation option is available, or rescheduling of the exam, the option is available, but they might charge a small amount for doing that, depending on how close to the exam you cancel or reschedule. So you're given, and on the right side, what you see is the format of the paper exam. So that's approximately what it would look like, and you mark your answers there. So it is so all the answers are multiple choice, but one thing is that they can have either one or more number of correct answers. So you may need to choose more than one correct answer, but there's no negative marking, so it's useful to at least try all the questions which are there. And as I mentioned, there's no fixed passing score. Next slide. So this is an example question just to show you what is the type of questions that can come. So this helps in the preparation, and since there are no mock questions which are actually endorsed by INCOSE. So this question basically says that what are the two major types of analyses performed during concept stage for defining a system architecture, and it mentions in brackets choose two. So the type of questions that are there, they will not ask a question which is of negation type. So it will not be of the type which says which of these two are not major types of analysis and so on. So that it'll always be a positive annotation. The second thing, it mentions the number of correct answers very clearly in the question. So you would know how many correct answers you need to choose. And if there is no notation given, so it means that there is only one correct answer. If it doesn't mention choose how many number of options, there would be only one answer. And in the computer testing, so what it does is basically it limits the number of selections that you can choose based on the number of right answers for the question. So there are totally there will be around 4 to 5 multiple choice options for each question. They will never ask a true or false type of question. And there will never be any of the choices will not have a reference to any of the other choices in the solution. So there will not be a all of the above or none of the above type of option. And mostly there will be no acronyms, so the language will be very straightforward, easy to understand. So the exam developers are not really trying to trick anyone, and the exam is developed so that so whether it's experienced systems engineers or inexperienced systems engineers who have studied the handbook extensively, they will be able to succeed in the exam. Next slide.
What's the answer, Aparna?
Sorry?
Oh, lovely. No, that's A and B. Gosh. Lovely. No worry. Thanks.
Okay, so as you can see here, these are the two correct answers for the question mentioned, but you won't be able to choose a third option. So next slide. Right, so these are some preparation trips that helped me personally and some of the people that I know who gave the exam along with me. So it really helps to have a study group. So the handbook can be a little dry. It's a dry topic. There's a lot of theory to read. So it helps to have a study group where you can discuss the concepts which are mentioned. So it makes it a little interesting, and you can actually see how it applies to your work and that kind of a thing. So those discussions really help, and it helps to talk to someone who's already given the exam and is certified. So that's one thing that's I found the most important, most useful thing. And the other thing is it's good to have a hard copy of the handbook. If you're not able to get that, you can take a printout for your own personal use only. It is not okay, and because of copyright issues, you cannot share your personal copy with others. So make sure to get your own copy. And the hard copy helps basically to make any notes, mark out important points. So it helps to revise towards the end, especially. And there are tutorials available in INCOSE. There's one of the certified expert systems engineers, John Clark. He has tutorials in the INCOSE Connect page, which is available to all INCOSE members. So if you're a full member, you can use those tutorials. Those tutorials as a PDF copy is also available in the INCOSE store. That's where the handbook is available as well. So that is helpful to get an idea of which are the important points to in each topic. And then it helps to create your own question bank. So there are people who make question banks and say that, okay, yeah, you can buy these and you can use that to study, but they are not official questions from INCOSE, from the INCOSE certification office. So, but it does help to create your own question bank. So now that you know what type of questions can come and what would be the format of the question, as you're studying, if you start, creating your own questions, that helps in revision and helps to realize that you have studied the entire syllabus. And at the end, it does help if you have your own mock test. So that helps basically to time yourself. Maybe not, those would obviously not be things that are it may not be the exact type of exam questions that you will get, but it helps to get an assessment of whether you will be able to complete the exam on time. So that is one thing that I found, that it's difficult to pass the exam if you don't complete the exam, or if you haven't answered all of the questions. So that's something really important. And so there are most of the chapters, there are 4 chapters basically, which talk about the different systems engineering processes, and they are in the form of input, process, output kind of diagram. So it helps to map out those inputs and outputs, which process do they come from, where do they go to, those kind of things. So most of the exam questions will be from the handbook, which will be like the kind of text that you would see in the handbook, which are best exam questions, are things which are like bullet points or some numbered lists or that kind of thing, or any definitions mentioned, any important terms and concepts which have been described. From the processes, the purpose statements are really important, the inputs, outputs, processes and sub-processes in that, the explanations. There are some elaboration sections which go into in-depth about certain important concepts, so that those are where you will get most number of questions from. So I hope that helps. There are some sample questions available on the INCOSE website in the link mentioned on the left-hand corner. So that's, but those are just 20 questions from 2015. Basically, they were the reject questions from or the extra questions which were evaluated. So those are helpful to get to know what type of questions are there. But yes, apart from that, I wouldn't really. INCOSE doesn't endorse any other question banks that are available. So next slide. Yeah, so finally, this is, there are some training providers who are, these are not endorsed by INCOSE, but they do provide the list of training providers on the INCOSE website. And this is the list below. So we don't really endorse anybody. And what INCOSE says is it doesn't really require training to pass the exam.
Mentorship on certification.
Sorry? Is there a question? Okay, so moving on. So this, it doesn't really require training, and the India chapter does provide mentorship on certification. So you can always reach out to us for any help that you need on how to prepare, and if you want to form study groups, we can help with that as well. We do have a WhatsApp group for people who are aiming to be SEP certified. So you could join that WhatsApp group by contacting us, and there mostly people who are certified would be able to help with mentoring and any questions that you have regarding the application process. So one of the training providers mentioned here, you can see highlighted, that's Certification Training International. So they are actually going to be sponsors for our event. That's the MBSE Summit on the 4th and 5th of May. So they are actually, they do provide quite good material, which is relevant, and they go over the systems engineering handbook and make it easier to understand. So most of these trainings providers, I mean, it can be a little expensive to go through this, so it's not really required. But I mean, if you do need the support, then yes, there are options available. Next slide, please. So this is basically what I wanted to cover in the webinar. So I wanted to touch upon the MBSE Summit just to reiterate. We will be having a mock exam during the summit on the 4th of May. And this is in the morning. And so if you are registered for the summit, you would be able to attend the mock test as well. So this mock test again is not from the INCOSE certification office. It's not official INCOSE exam questions. This is just something that has been made up by volunteers who've given the exam before. And so we will be starting from next week. We will be putting out some teaser questions, so you can give a hand on that, and you can try out those questions and see where you are. maybe 5 to 10 questions we would be putting out over the week before the summit. And during the summit, we will also be having SEP and career counseling. That's counseling on systems engineering careers, planning and opportunities, and also how to prepare for the knowledge exam and any queries that you have related to that. So you are most welcome to join that. And apart from that, next slide. So you can contact me, the technical officer, or anybody in the INCOSE India chapter. So there is the email mentioned in this presentation, and you can reach out to us on whatever questions you would have, and we can be able to help you. So with that, thank you everyone for attending, and if we can answer any questions. I see a lot of questions in the chat box, so we can get into those.
Yes, Aparna. So thank you very much for sharing this. And there are actually a lot of questions. So before I go into the questions, I'll just have the other poll quickly, last poll quickly, and then I'll read out the questions and you can answer them.
Sure.
So, launched. And meanwhile, I'll just go ahead with the questions. So what is the criteria or documents required for CSEP application? I guess that is already covered, but if you want to quickly brief on that. So Dipesh asked this question.
Okay, so yeah, for the CSEP application, what you need is so basically once you clear the exam, you need to have your transcripts or degree certificate to show your education in an engineering field, and you need the application form. Basically, you will be filling out your detailed work experience and your systems engineering, specifically systems engineering experience in those 14 areas. So actually the form in quite detail, it explains about each of those functional areas that I mentioned, the 14 functional areas, what all does it include. So you can map it with whatever you have worked in the past, your experience. So you can use that as help to fill that out. The other thing you need is the references. So the references have to fill out a separate form, which needs to be emailed or to the INCOSE certification office. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. So other question is from Sunil. If I have more than 5 years of experience in system engineering, can I directly go for CSEP without completing Esep?
Yes, definitely. So what I first mentioned is basically that you can, you can go to any level that is appropriate for you. So if you have 5 years of experience, definitely you can go directly for the CSEP certification.
And then that doesn't also mean that you don't have to have a specific degree, right? So that's the next question actually. For CSEP, someone with no degree, what is the criteria? The individual is already working as a C.
So if you're already working as a systems engineer, but you do need to show a degree, you can reach out to the certification office to answer those queries. And they would go into more detail explaining or evaluating whether it's okay or not.
So you need at least a minimum graduation, right?
Yes, you do need a minimum graduation, and especially in an engineering degree.
Okay. Next question is ASEP to CSEP, any mandatory gap is required?
5 years would be the minimum because you have to have 5 years of experience. And if you've been an ASEP for 5 years and you are working as a systems engineer, then that would be sufficient. Yeah, in case you were a student when you gave your ASEP exam and you got certified, then probably it will take a little longer because you have to have the 5 years of working experience.
Mm-hmm. So the next question you have already answered, but maybe just for the interest. So can the computer-based exam be taken from home or Prometric Center is required?
Yes, so now the Prometric Center option is not there anymore. So you do take it from home.
Okay. Right. The next question is on fees. So INCOSE membership fee is also included in the application fee for Csep certification.
No, so the membership fee is different, and then there's an application fee, and there is a exam. There are 3 different fees that you have to pay.
Okay.
Actually, you should be able to check with your organization if you're applying for a CSEP. Many organizations do sponsor that, so definitely check with your organization for that.
Next question on displaying the score. So will the score be available after the result?
No, so they never tell you what is your score, whether you got, how many questions you got right, and any of those things. So they will just give you a statement saying whether you passed or failed. That's it.
Okay. Okay. And then the next question is, which belongings are permitted in the time of online test? Is headphone permitted along with the identity document?
Right, that's a great question. So headphones are permitted, but you cannot have any papers or books or anything else around you. You cannot have a pen, pencil. There shouldn't be basically anything that you can use to note down a question from the exam. And you have to always be in front of the camera. Camera is very important. That web camera should be there. Yeah.
Then just to ensure we don't have to pay exam fees for every attempt.
You do. So every time you attempt, and you get up to 3 attempts in a 12-month period, but you do need to pay the exam fee for every time you attempt it.
Okay, so let's say one application fee, and then if I am supposed to give exam twice,
yeah,
then I'll pay exam fee twice, not the application fee twice.
Right.
Okay.
But with it, I'm sorry to follow up on that. So this, for example, CPAPE, that's a $300 exam fee, right?
The application fee.
That's the application fee. And
Yeah.
exam fee is how much?
$80 if you're taking.
Okay, so $80 we have to pay. Okay, okay. You just, I just had a small mini attack here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Application even after you pass the exam. So if you've given say 2 or 3 attempts and you've passed the exam, you can start the application after that. You do have.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Are there questions like most correct answers, nearly correct, and wrong answers?
No, there's only one right answer. So basically, whatever the question mentions, you have to choose how many of the options. So that's the number of correct answers. So there's no partial marks for part answering or something. Yeah, it's either right or wrong.
Okay. So the next question is, are the questions only from the handbook, or does it also include some real-time scenarios?
No, there are no real-time scenarios. Everything can, all the options which are mentioned in the multiple choice, they will be, I mean, all the right answers, they will relate to, they can be shown to be from the handbook directly. So.
Okay. And then are these tutorials and mock-up tests available on INCOSE membership?
Tutorials are, there's one set of tutorials which is available when you have the INCOSE membership. There are no mock questions available. So that's why what I would suggest is to help create your own question bank with the study group or, you know, this is something that INCOSE India chapter once in a while does. We would send out some questions which would be helpful just for you to get an understanding of whether you've read the handbook or you can answer some questions. But of course, they are not officially from the certification office.
Then there's some confusion around the 20 non-scored questions, including the 120 questions. Can you just elaborate on that?
Okay, so yeah, those actually you don't really need to worry about those 20 questions. It doesn't matter whether you really understand it or not. You have to answer all the questions, whatever the case. But there will be, out of those 120 questions, 20 of those questions are not going to be scored. So you wouldn't know which ones are scored, which ones are not. So you just have to answer everything.
Then the question on ISO 15288-2015, is it a requirement for the studies?
Sorry, can you go again?
So is the standard 15288 required for the exam?
No, so you don't have to study from that standard, but that standard is what is referred for the in the handbook. So most of the material is from there. So you don't have to study that separately.
Then more tactical question, will the session recording and PPT be shared after the session? So yes, we plan to record, we are recording the session and we will be hosting it soon on YouTube channel and also on our MBSC Summit site. I think PowerPoint, Aparna, maybe we can think if you want to share maybe to the attendees as a PDF, if that's okay, if that helps.
Yes, because there are a lot of links given about the INCOSE website and everything, which would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, Mudit, one last question from me.
Yes, please.
Here. Yeah.
Yes, Atman.
Yes, Mudit. Actually, I was a member of INCOSE and it has expired. But I want to write the exam now. So what are the fees I need to pay for the Esep exam?
So it would be the same thing. You can become a member again. So you pay the membership fee, and so membership fee is basically for a year. So every year you would have to pay that membership fee. And apart from that, the process is the same.
Means I need to pay the membership fee plus the exam fees, right?
Fee and the application fee for the Esep.
So all the three fees I need to pay.
Yes.
I think it's $180 for Esep application, and then $80 for the exam, and $80 for the membership.
Membership, I think it's 120.
It depends. So if you choose the option of so for India, there's a PPP membership which is available. That option is basically $80. Otherwise, it's $160 for.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Thanks.
Aparna, I have a couple of questions. First of all, I have 2 years of experience and I am going to give SEP exam. So my question is, the jumping from SEP to CSEP, can we reduce the time period from 5 years to less like 3 years, like that?
No, so you will have to have a minimum of 5 years of experience. So right now you already have 2 years. So if you have the ASEP certification now, after 3 years you can move to CSEP because you would have 5 years of experience, and if it is related systems engineering related experience.
Okay, and is there any limitation of attempts to exam?
There is a limitation of 3 attempts in a 12-month period, but after 12 months you can attempt again. There's no limits on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we have about 3 minutes left, but we have a good number of questions. Dinesh, are you asking something? Hello.
Aparna, I have a question.
Sure,
Vinay here. Am I audible?
yes, Vinay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in the website, I see the process for renewal of the CSEP certification. There are some activities that needs to be performed, and you need to score the credits and all. Like how extensive would it be? Like what would be like if somebody can share that from their experience who has renewed? So how extensive would the engagement would be for gaining these credits?
I mean, there are a lot of things which you can earn credits for. So you can volunteer with INCOSE, you can attend webinars like this, you can attend any conferences. So those kind of things which you would generally do as part of your career development, right, as a systems engineer. So those are the kind of things which add on points. So that you don't have to put an extra effort into it. You just have to make sure that you make a note of all those things, and it's over. For CSEP, it's over a 3-year period that you will be collecting points for that.
Okay. And in that, there was also a mention of if we author a book, that would be gaining the highest amount of, credits. So do we have somebody from INCOSE India chapter who has authored and got it renewed? So we can have the first-hand experience of an author.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, no idea about this
Okay.
particular thing. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because
But
that one point had a huge amount of score for the credits.
yeah. But if you're interested for that, maybe to reach out the committee, right? The SEP. Is there a specific link for that, Aparna? Like, can we ask questions to INCOSE directly regarding
There is
such
an
things?
email address. I mean, you can email to the INCOSE certificate.
Help desk.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So if you have any specific query like that, you can reach out there.
Thank you.
Aparna, I
Thank
have
you.
one question. Is
Uh,
it audible?
Yes, Dinesh. Go ahead.
Yeah. So is there any discount available if we refer by the INCOSE team members already?
Sorry.
So I think the question is, do we have any referral discounts?
Yeah. Referral discount for the INCOSE member or some.
Discounts in INCOSE. So is
And one more question.
yeah, a discount membership.
Okay. So and one more question, like if we go for IRB exam, foundation or whatever, it is, but for India it is not available. But if we go for an exam, we can book for the 2 options, and we have to pay a little bit extra money. So we no need to pay the entire money as it is. Is there any option like that? Question is clear.
Yeah, your audio I think is not clear. Can you type your question?
So maybe Dinesh,
Yeah.
ask over email and be able to answer.
So no. Yeah, just is it audible? So the question is like, if we are booking for online exam, right? So when we are booking the exam, in IRB we have an option to take we'll get a discount for the exam if we go for a reappearance. In case we fail in the first test, we can go for the second option. That means the buying of the second option with a particular discount.
So there is only one option for INCOSE exam online, and there's only either you take the online exam or you take paper-based exam. Paper-based exam is a lot.
No, I'm talking about the attempts, number of attempts, right? For example, if you pay extra money in IRB, we'll get some second attempt as in free. But not for India, but for other countries. Like that, will there be any number of attempts will be increased if you pay some little bit extra when you're paying the money? The additional exam is
I'm not sure I understand you correctly, but actually, it would be a good idea if you can reach out to us over email, so we'll be able to answer that better.
No issue. Okay, Aparna, yeah, can you? Actually, my network is not good today. Okay.
So I think we are out of time.
Yeah. I think let's call it. Let's close this, and I'd like to thank you, Aparna, for taking out time and sharing your experience and knowledge with everyone. And I would like to also thank all the audience for such great questions and keeping up till the end. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to Aparna, or you can also reach out to INCOSE India chapter directly. Thanks again. Thanks for joining. And if you want, we can send up a follow-up email to all the registrations with the link to PowerPoint. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aparna. Thanks, Mudit. Great session.